Hello, I'm Gunette Young and welcome to the 51%, a new show about women who are reshaping our world. Coming up, fury in Spain as the government moves to roll back abortion rights. Opposition parties and women's groups say it's going to set back women's rights to the dark days of General Franco's dictatorship. Also, we take a look at the women who've been making their mark in 2013. And we meet not a Top Gun, but a Top Gunette, the first female pilot of the French fighter jet Rafale. But first, there's been an outpouring of anger over moves by Spain's Conservative government to tighten restrictions on abortion. Now, under the proposed law, the practice would only be allowed in the case of rape or where there's serious health risk to the mother. Now, opposition parties and women's groups say it's a backwards move which is going to result in illegal abortions. The governing Popular Party has made changing the law one of its main campaign promises back in 2011. And its large majority in Parliament means the bill is likely to become law.
For abortion not to be a crime, first there must be a threat to the woman's life or physical or psychological health. Or, second, the pregnancy is a consequence of a crime against women's freedom or sexual integrity.
And there's already been angry protests in Spain, and here in Paris on Friday, women's groups staged a rally in front of the Spanish embassy. Now, for more on this story, let's head to Malaga to speak to Dr. Alberto Stoltenberg from the Spanish Association of Abortion Providers. Dr. Stoltenberg, the Spanish government appears to be bucking the trend here in Europe, where countries, if anything, are liberalising their abortion laws. Why are they doing exactly the opposite?
So we think that the government is trying to satisfy the right wing of their party, and the church pressure is very important. They promised during the last campaign for elections that they wanted to make a reform of the actual law. But they said women under 18, they can still decide about this pregnancy if their parents do not agree. So they want now to convince these people that they should continue voting the PP, especially in the European elections. So we mean the most important reasons are elections, but also religious and ethical motivation.
So what are going to be the implications of this law?
Well, the first implication, the most important implication, that this law means to stop the right of the women to decide about their life. So they will need, according to this law, doctors or persons to decide for themselves.
Now, it still has to go before a parliamentary vote, but given the Popular Party has the majority, it is expected to pass Parliament. What are groups like yours going to do to fight this bill?
From our point of view, we are the abortion providers organization in Spain. We think we have to explain to the women how it's really going to happen, how it's going to be the situation with this new law, if this law passed the Parliament. So we want to organize meetings to discuss with foreign scientists, even from the WHO. These people could explain very clear what are the consequences of such legislation.
Dr. Stoltenberg, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. That's Dr. Stoltenberg from the Spanish Association of Abortion Providers. Moving on, among the women who've been making headlines in 2013 were the female punk musicians from Pussy Riot. Now, under a surprise amnesty signed off by Russian President Vladimir Putin, the three were released from jail early. They've been in prison since March 2012 for a profanity-laced protest in Moscow's main cathedral. And it appears their stint in jail has, if anything, boosted their defiance against the country's political and religious establishments. At a Moscow press conference, the women were very loud and clear in their views, calling on people to boycott the Winter Games that will be hosted by Russia in February.
As for the boycott, whether someone intends it or not, a trip to the Olympics in Russia means an acceptance of the internal political situation here, acceptance of Vladimir Putin's political course. He is more interested than anyone in the Olympics. I guess it is a personal, ethical decision for each individual if they are ready to support what Vladimir Putin is doing, and whether they are prepared to come to Russia for the Olympics.
And it's not just the women of Pussy Riot who captured the headlines this year. Jade Barker takes a look at others who've made their mark in 2013.
For many, she was the embodiment of women's fight for rights in 2013. Malala Yousafzai's courageous campaign for girls' education won her the EU's Sakharov Human Rights Prize. On her 16th birthday, 1 year after she was shot in the head by Taliban gunmen for speaking out for what she believed in, Malala showed her determination and extraordinary maturity as she addressed the United Nations.
The terrorists thought that they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born.
French Elle magazine picked Christiane Taubira as its Woman of the Year. The French Justice Minister not only rose above racist taunts, but fought tooth and nail for same-sex marriage. She was given a standing ovation for her speech after the bill was finally adopted. Forbes magazine named Angela Merkel as the most powerful woman in the world for the 7th time. The German Chancellor was re-elected to run Europe's largest economy for the 3rd time this year. But Merkel may have competition. Janet Yellen was named as the new chairperson of the US Federal Reserve, the first ever female to hold the position. For the 2nd time since the country's independence, a woman has been named Prime Minister of Senegal. It's hoped former Justice Minister Aminata Touré will continue her fight against corruption in her new role. Hamas has appointed its first female spokesperson and English speaker. 23-year-old Isra Al-Madilal credits her studies in journalism as well as her time in Britain as a child for helping her understand Western culture, and says she wants to paint a different picture of Palestine and Gaza. Finally, if we had to name the Queen of Tech for 2013, the crown would go to Sheryl Sandberg. Facebook's COO incited a new conversation on feminism in the workplace with her book, Lean In, Women, Work and the Will to Lead.
And finally, it's still a domain very much still dominated by men and immortalised in the Hollywood movie Top Gun. But here in France, a 28-year-old has become the first pilot of the French fighter jet Rafale. Yet it's a life choice that comes with sacrifices, as Kyle Brown reports.
Her voice calm and resolute, just a few words to inform ground control below.
Stand by, we're heading off again.
And she resumes the drill. Her code name, Sharon. The mission today, to thwart the attack of enemy planes. Mission accomplished. Claire has just wrapped up her flight training. We're using only her first name in accordance with military protocol. Claire is the first female pilot of the Rafale fighter jets in France.
It's my first tour and I'm alone, so I'm taking advantage of the opportunity.
At 28 years old, Claire is entering the boys' club. It's a dream come true for the daughter of a pilot who brought her to an air show at the age of 5. She's wanted to be a pilot ever since. After 10 years of training, she came out top of the class. She opts for the Rafale, a fighter jet reserved for the highly skilled and flown only by men, until now.
There are always 1 or 2 guys who are a bit hesitant, but it's not really a barrier that's impossible to cross. They're wary, maybe just keen to see how it all turns out.
Now that she has passed the test, this is life at the office. She may be on cloud 9, but there's been a price to pay.
Having a husband who follows me everywhere would be quite difficult. It won't be possible to have children, at least not while I continue to fly. I'd have to stop flying if I wanted a family. So I'd have to take all of that into account.
Having a family is somewhere on the horizon, but for the moment, Claire is focusing on just one trajectory at a time.
And that's it for this edition. If you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, you can check out our Facebook page, France24/the51%, or you can send us a tweet at _51%. We really would love to hear from you. And until our next program, it's bye for now.